Hi everybody, my name is Genevieve Camilleri. I'm currently working in the visual effects industry as a VFX supervisor, both as a production supervisor as well as a vendor supervisor. I'm also a compositing mentor at CG Spectrum. When I was at high school, VFX was still kind of pretty new in terms of like the digital realm of it, and it was not seen or known as a career. Naturally, in high school, I was kind of good at science and maths and things like that. So I just kind of naturally progressed from that into a biotechnology degree. But part of me, I always loved watching movies, and I sort of really enjoyed making my own short films. So there was a part of me, like unconsciously, that I really loved sort of like the artistic side of things, as well as the technical, sort of mathematical. So I did a double degree in biotechnology and media communications. Just the media communications was sort of just to sort of fulfill the artistic interest that I had in there. I completed the first year of that double degree, and I went to my first day of second year, and it was a 5-hour chemistry lab. And I walked out of that, and I was like, no, this is definitely not what I want to be doing every day. It's not for me. I'm good at it, but it's not for me. So then I deferred the course just to spend a little bit of time and just thinking about what is it, I actually want to do. And through that, I did a little bit of research of what other courses are out there. And at the time, my dad was working for a TAFE, and he sort of said to me, hey, they've got this course called multimedia, which, you might really like doing, because I enjoyed spending time on the computer and things like that as well. And he's like, it's kind of it's artistic, but it's also very technical at the same time. So I enrolled in, in the year that I took off, I enrolled in just a couple of subjects in that TAFE course, just to get a feel for it and, see if it's something I might enjoy. And I did 3 subjects, I think, in that course, and I absolutely loved it. And I was like, oh my God, this is it's perfect. It's technical, but it's also creative, and it kind of just combines those two things in a really nice way. So I then went on to do a degree in multimedia and digital arts at Monash University. I completed that, and I absolutely loved it, but I found that it was quite a broad course. So, we learned a little bit of web design, a little bit of animation, a little bit of editing, 3D modeling, and it was just kind of like a little bit of all the different departments that kind of make up the VFX realm. And I just didn't feel like I had specialized in anything. And through that course, I kind of always navigated to making my own short films and incorporating some kind of 3D or animated element into that. So I then went on to do a postgraduate diploma in film and TV, specializing in visual effects. And yeah, as soon as I did that course, I was like, this is it. This is exactly what I want to be doing. It was kind of like a hobby, but also I could see it as a career as well. Getting your first job, even today, is really quite hard in the VFX industry. And that's probably the hardest step, I think, in the VFX world, is getting your first job. And, through a lot of persistence, I got my first job through an internship, through a government incentive in Melbourne, Australia. So that was like a paid internship for 6 months. And then the company that I was working for, they were doing more advertising work at that stage. It wasn't, proper film and TV VFX. It was sort of like motion graphics advertisements, not very flashy advertisements, kind of like, toilet cleaners and things like that. But it was, a great experience doing that internship. And then they offered me a job after that. So I kind of rolled on to my first job from there. And then after a year of sort of doing commercials, I felt ready to apply for some larger VFX studios that specialized in film VFX. I applied for a company called Allura, which has now been rebranded a couple of times. It's now called Frame Store. And that's kind of where I got my first job as a roto artist. Well, especially back then, there wasn't any courses like what CG Spectrum offers that's really specialized in, the VFX departments. Back then, it was all very broad, and there wasn't any sort of courses that really specialized in it. So, coming from a course that was quite broad, I did feel like I needed that experience to then be able to apply for, my first VFX job. But I think these days there's a lot of courses that are quite specialized, and they sort of prep you for that first job initially. I mean, to be honest, my whole career to date has been a highlight. It's the thing I love about it the most is that there's so many challenges. Every single project has a different creative and technical challenge, and I think that's what really just keeps it interesting. Every job is different. Every job requires you to come up with some new kind of creature or environment that hasn't been done before. So yeah, honestly, every project feels like a highlight to me working on it. But in terms of my progression, I started out in compositing. That's my background. And I spent quite a few years, working my way up from junior to a lead compositor in Melbourne. And then I sort of felt like I hit a little bit of a learning curve at that studio, and I felt like it was ready for me to go explore some other studios, learn different tools, different techniques, things like that. And so the other beauty about VFX is it's a small industry, but it's global. And you get to travel a lot. You can get a job in Canada or, somewhere in Europe or Australia doing the work. And maybe not so much at the moment, but they do sort of help support you to travel for that job as well. And so at that point, I was like, I love traveling and I love my job. And I got to combine those two things. And then I kind of ventured to Canada and worked for Industrial Light and Magic and Method Studios, Atomic Fiction. I started out in compositing, worked my way up to a compositing lead. And then, once I sort of ventured over to Canada, there was quite a lot of options in Canada at that point in time, and I was able to step up into a compositing supervisor role there, and I really quite loved doing that, working with people and close with them to sort of help them, creatively lift up their work, as well at the same time as still being hands-on. So, yeah, from there, I was then offered a job to work as a VFX supervisor on Top Gun Maverick at that point in time, which, was a huge step up and a great opportunity for me. So a VFX supervisor is similar to a VFX supervisor, but it's just sort of a slightly introductory role to it. After 8 months on that project, I then moved back to Australia to work for Mill Film on a film called Lava Monsters as a VFX supervisor. So that was kind of my first project as a VFX supervisor. And, it was quite a unique project. It was sort of marketed as like this kind of small little film that's, might be sold to Netflix or streamed somewhere. So, it was a fun project. Even the film itself, it didn't quite take itself too seriously. It was a fun project. The film was fun, but it was also sort of a slight serious tone to it as well. Working on it at the time, we didn't really think it was going to be a massive Hollywood hit. So it was also quite a low budget film for Hollywood standards. But then surprisingly, it was nominated for an Oscar for its VFX work. So it was a huge surprise for me and a great honor to be representing the whole team that really helped make that film come alive. It was very unexpected, but it was a crazy ride as well and journey to sort of be nominated for an Oscar, especially for my first film, supervising. It's kind of like, wow, that's normally what happens towards the end of your career, not at the beginning. So general day kind of looks like your morning is catching up with the producer and the production team just to sort of recap where the project's at, what tasks do we have to hit for the week, how many shots we got left, things like that, sort of organising the logistics of the project. And then sort of the day from there is honestly just a lot of working with the artists, reviewing work, client calls. That's kind of like the general day. We'd have like a normal daily session where you kind of work with the artists, have a look at their work. Then you might jump into a meeting of some sorts about maybe a technical problem on the show. Then once that's kind of completed, you jump back into another daily to review some more work, then potentially jump on a client call, share the work with the client, get their feedback and share it with the team. And continue that until you get to the end of the project. Judging where the industry is currently at the moment, obviously, it's been through a few ups and downs over the years with COVID and then the actors' strikes that happened, and then also AI being introduced. There's kind of a few things that have shaken it up over the years, and a lot of people are kind of questioning where's it going to go, from here. And to be honest, I think I don't think films are going anywhere. Films have been around for such a long time, and I don't think people are going to stop watching films. So I think it's definitely going to be around for the long haul, and I don't see it ever kind of vanishing. In terms of things coming up like AI, again, I pretty much just see that as another tool. We've had lots of developments in VFX with the tools and the programs that we use over the years, and I kind of just see AI as being another tool that's going to aid us in being a little bit more efficient or being able to achieve even higher standards, because that kind of helps us with the more tedious tasks. Tying all that together in terms of, students looking to get their first job and, getting into the industry, I think taking those things into consideration is maybe just keep your skill set a little bit broad, especially at this point of time in the industry, just because it is a bit turbulent, and maybe just don't try and specialize too quickly, and sort of be a little bit open to getting your foot in the door. And then I think once you've got your foot in the door, then you can really focus on a specialty. But I think it's good to just be a little bit open, certainly at this stage of, the early stages of your career and where the industry is currently at. So it's the challenges, the creativity, the technical side of it, working with different people, different projects. It's kind of, the best thing is it's kind of encompasses all these different things together into one, and it keeps the job interesting. There's never a mundane day. Everything is, working as a team with people to problem solve and try and come up with something creative and unique, while also pushing technical boundaries. So